Good morning, everybody. Well, we saw democracy in action yesterday, and I want to offer my congratulations to Mayor-elect Eric Adams. I'm really, really excited about what Eric's going to be doing for New York City going forward. This is a really good day for our city. Overwhelmingly, the people of this city said Eric Adams is the right choice to lead us into the future. And I can tell you, I know him well. I've known him a long time. I think he's going to be an exceptional mayor. I look forward to helping and supporting in any way over these next weeks as he gets ready. And I think it's going to be an example of a really great handoff. Eric Adams is going to take us to the next level and help bring this recovery forward in our city. It was a good day for New York City. Congratulations also to Jumaane Williams and Brad Lander, both of whom I think are going to be exceptional in their roles. Congratulations to those elected borough presidents, city council members, everyone. This is a chance for a whole new generation of leaders to come forward at a time where our city is ready to not only recover, but go beyond where we were before. That's what a recovery for all of us means. And I think New Yorkers made some really great choices yesterday. So now getting back to our recovery, the key to recovery is vaccination. We got great news from Washington. Now we're seeing the approvals of the vaccine for the 5 to 11-year-olds. There's one more piece we're waiting for from the CDC, but it looks quite certain. And so we're preparing, as soon as we get that final authorization, that tomorrow, city-run vaccination sites in New York City will be providing the Pfizer vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds. Tomorrow's going to be a historic day for this city in our fight against COVID as we reach our youngest New Yorkers. So city-run sites will be ready, up and running, ready to go. Assuming we get that final approval today, they'll be up tomorrow, and then right behind them will come the other sites around the city. Also want to make a major announcement. We're going to have in each of our schools that has kids in that 5 to 11-year-old range, we're going to have a day for each school when vaccination is provided at the school building itself. That will start next week, and we'll carry it over into the following Monday. So starting on Monday, November 8th, vaccination in schools, 1 day per school. We're going to have lots of notice to parents. Of course, the school community is going to reach out to parents to let them know that there will be an opportunity to get their child vaccinated in their own local school. Of course, a lot of parents are going to go faster than that and go to our city-run sites as early as tomorrow. Of course, there are a lot of parents who would rather go to their own pediatrician. All choices are good choices, but we want to make it available and easy for parents who prefer just to go to their local school building. So every school will have 1 day that's their vaccination day, easy, convenient, free as always. Now, reminding everyone, a child in that 5 to 11-year-old range who's going to be vaccinated either has to have a parent and guardian with them, or we need consent, either written or verbal consent from that parent. So there's going to be a great effort to reach out. Every school community has lots of ways of reaching parents, letting them know this is going to be available. And look, I know, and I've been saying as a parent, I know parents in the city are going to be so energized to get their kids this vaccination, keep them safe. But it's important we do every single thing we can to reach parents, answer their questions, make it easy, make it convenient. Someone who's been fighting for vaccination to be as convenient as possible, grassroots as possible, someone who really understands the concerns of parents, and he has been a big supporter of vaccination efforts in our schools. He is a former teacher himself, and he is the chair of the Education Committee in the City Council. My pleasure to welcome City Council Member Mark Treyger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a significant turning point in our city's battle against this pandemic. I don't have to tell parents and the public and everyone watching how this pandemic has taken a great toll on our kids, and our families, our communities. We know, particularly with the Delta variant, its greater impact on children. So this is a significant turning point. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for utilizing our school communities in such an effective, meaningful way. Schools are in many cases a key entry point for primary healthcare access for children. There's an equity issue here, making sure that every school across all zip codes are access points for children and families. We'll work with our multilingual communities to further build trust, Vaccines, as we know, are safe and effective. And once we get the final sign off, I think it's absolutely critical and essential that we get this work started immediately. Vaccines prevent serious illness and death. Vaccines will also help minimize and reduce disruption to children instruction. So kids can stay in school, and kids coming back to school. So many of the heartbreaking cases where families are just continuously fearful because there was no vaccine available for kids between 5 and 11 years old. And of course, we will further reduce community transmission. So this is a significant turning point. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to Chancellor for working together to utilize our school infrastructure to further build trust, to help protect our kids, and to really just defeat this pandemic once and for all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember, and you've really been a strong voice, and you've helped us get a lot done for our kids in so many ways. I want to thank you for that. And I know you're going to spread the word, and school communities are going to spread the word. This is going to be a great opportunity. Every child that gets vaccinated quickly in these next days, that's going to be that much more protection for families and for our city. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, now let's continue talking about our recovery and how we move forward. And I always say recovery equals safety, safety equals recovery. They go together. We know that the vaccinations have had a huge impact. We know that our vaccination mandate has had a huge impact. 92% of our city workforce now vaccinated. We know that these are the things that keep us strong, help us move forward. We also know that for years and years, New York City has been the safest big city in America, and we can say it in two ways now. In terms of COVID, we are one of the safest places in America because we have one of the highest levels of vaccination. As of today, 86% of adults in New York City have had at least one dose of the vaccine. Talk about young people in that 12 to 17-year-old group, 78% plus already, and that's going to keep growing. So that's one of the ways we're safe. We're also safe because we have the finest police force in the United States of America and growing efforts at the community level to keep neighborhoods safe, community-based solutions to violence. They're having a big impact. We got more work to do always, but we saw progress in the month of October. We want to go over that today. And strikingly and important, in the month of October 2021 compared to a year ago, last October, comparing these 2 months, and it says a lot, murder down almost 10%, shootings down 4%, shooting victims down 11%. Contrast that to what we're seeing nationwide, and it's very sad to say nationwide murders up substantially, 16%, and in major cities across the country, Chicago, LA, Philadelphia, Houston. Unfortunately, we're seeing murder rates going up, we're seeing more crime, and that impact of COVID still a huge problem in many, many cities. In this city, real change is happening. We've got more to do for sure, but real change is happening. And it's about precision policing. It's about neighborhood policing. These approaches work. Focusing on where the guns are. Amazing, almost 400 gun arrests in the month of October. Gun arrests for the year, almost 4,000. Really striking numbers, a 14% increase over last year. I want to just thank all the men and women of the NYPD who have been doing this incredibly important and difficult work, but crucial work, getting these guns off the street. It's having an impact. The gang takedowns, huge number of gang takedowns, having an impact. Let's look at this city as a whole. We have 8 NYPD commands, 8 borough commands. And what's striking is a number of them have now brought major crime indicators, most notably shootings, back down to levels at or near 2019, pre-pandemic, and that's really important. In Brooklyn, 20% year-to-date reduction in shootings. This is crucial. There's a big story in Brooklyn that really bears witness that there have been amazing efforts made, even in the toughest of times, by the NYPD. So now, since May, as we put a new variety of strategies in place preparing for the summer, Brooklyn South has actually now gotten close to 2019 levels in terms of shootings. Brooklyn North down substantially from 2020. So those are really powerful indicators in a borough that often had some of the biggest problems. Manhattan South has returned to 2019 levels. Queens, both South and North, have seen a lot of progress the last few months, returning down closer to 2019 levels. Staten Island as well. We've seen in 6 of the 8 borough commands either reaching back to 2019 levels or substantial improvements compared to 2020. That's extraordinary, and we need to thank the men and women of the NYPD for that, and all of those doing the great work at the neighborhood level in communities as well. All of our community partners, all the folks out there stopping violence. There are two places where we got real challenges that we have to keep our focus on. I know the NYPD is, I know the Cure Violence movement and crisis management system are. The Bronx, still a challenge. Lots of resources being poured in to address it. Manhattan North as well. So those two commands, those 2 out of the 8, continue to be a challenge. The other 6 really striking progress, and particularly as I turn to Chief Harrison, I want to say, Chief, to you and everyone under your command, the fact that there are places in the city you've gotten now back to pre-pandemic 2019 levels, still while dealing with all the challenges that we still have with COVID. That is a great, great achievement. I want to congratulate you and all the men and women who serve under you. And I know you've got more to say about what we saw in the month of October. My pleasure to introduce Chief of Department, Rodney Harrison.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. And there's a lot of different ways we can measure safety and the perception of it, especially in this big city. But just take a look at last Sunday. We had the Halloween Day parade. We had over 1,000 participants as well as spectators. There were no issues. And that's just a positive sign that this city is recovering. So great job by Steve Hughes and the men and women of Manhattan South. But there's some things that we've seen since the start of the summer in June, where we were up over 200 shootings year to date. Now, Mr. Mayor, we're only up 23 shootings compared to last year. And the decrease is due to the great work by the Summer All Out of our officers, the stronger connections with the community, as well as precision policing into our most problematic gangs. And the department is seeing positive progress in our decreasing shootings across the city. You talked about Brooklyn being down 20%. Queens has turned the corner. They're down 3% as a whole, and Staten Island is down 9%. And the areas in Brooklyn where we've seen our biggest decreases, Bedford-Stuyvesant, East New York, Flatbush, Canarsie, and Brownsville, Brooklyn. These are areas that we've seen violence in the past, and we're putting the appropriate amount of resources to make those communities a lot safer. And as a part of our overall precision policing strategy, we are focusing our attention on specific areas in the city that are causing some of the violence. And even though the Bronx is still struggling, the Bronx is the only borough in the city that has over 1,000 gun arrests year to date. That is an increase of 22% compared to last year. And to help combat youth-related crimes, the youth coordination officers in the Bronx have made connections with 150 youth for the month of October. These connections with at-risk youth are helping to provide the needed services that will pay off dividends going into the future. Mr. Mayor, I want to talk about neighborhood policing, and it's back on track and it's working. You know, we just take a look at our Build a Block meetings, and for the past 3 months, we've had 274 meetings identifying the issues with the community and working together to solve them. And we've seen the attendance numbers getting better and better. If anybody would like to go to a Build a Block meeting, reach out to your local precinct or go on nypd.gov, select Find Your Build a Block meeting, enter your address, and your sector will come up, your NCOs will come up, your neighborhood coordination officers will come up, as well as the next meeting for the Build a Block will come up. We need to hear your complaints so we can continue to make this a safe city. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chief. Congratulations again. We got more to do, but real progress. I want to highlight the last point Chief Harrison made about folks getting involved. We need this now. Neighborhood policing is something that really has worked, but it includes, of course, the idea that we've got to get the public more involved. Safety derives not just from the presence of well-trained police officers, it derives from the community. And we need people in the community levels to join those Build a Block meetings, to get involved. The whole idea of having neighborhood coordination officers is to make personal the approach to policing. People know the cops on the beat and know that they have, every New Yorker has information to offer to the police that could be helpful to them as they do their jobs. We want to be able to always connect with police, thank them, hear what they are looking at and how the community can help serve and support their efforts. You know, this is really, really important. When police and community come together, it works. It works. We saw it for years and years before the pandemic. We're seeing it again now. So that works. Neighborhood policing works. But I'll tell you what's not working, and this is a profound problem. I've called it out many times, as has Commissioner Shea, but it still hasn't been fixed, our court system. Listen to the latest, because after all the times that we've talked about the problems in the court system, we're still seeing very, very little change. Again, calling upon everyone in the court system, calling upon the state of New York, we need help. We can't achieve the safety that we deserve for all New Yorkers without a functioning court system. It's there for a reason, but we've been missing its presence in so many ways for the last 2 years, and that's just not acceptable. Compared to 2019, here are the facts. Felony trials down 92%. Pleas in felony cases down 53%. Sentences in felony cases down 55%. This makes a profound impact. We can't achieve safety if there are no consequences for people who do the wrong thing. And if there's no trials, there's no consequences. So we got to fix this. It starts with calendaring more appearances. We're calling on the courts. Appearances are way down. Start calendaring more so we can make this city safer. We need that help. We can do this together. We'll support it in any way. I've said to the court system, you need more space, you need help with vaccination, whatever you need, we'll be there. Let's get it done. Let's get it done so we can really move this city forward. Okay, let's go to our indicators. And we see continued progress on number one, doses administered to date. And I think we're going to see a big jump in the next few days now that we can reach our youngest New Yorkers. We are literally almost at 12,100,000 doses, and that's about to go right up. Number two, daily number of people admitted to New York City hospitals for suspected COVID-19. Today's report, 91 patients. Confirmed positivity, 18.28%. Hospitalization rate per 100,000 people, 0.52. And then new reported cases on a 7-day average. Further evidence, vaccinations working. Today's report, 680 cases. Few words in Spanish on the amazing efforts of the NYPD and folks at the community level to make this city safer. La seguridad del público va de la mano con la... I'm going to do it again. La seguridad del público va de la mano con la recuperación de nuestra ciudad. Este mes, el número de asesinatos, tiroteos y víctimas de disparos bajaron en la ciudad de Nueva York. Trabajamos junto con la policía y las comunidades para seguir siendo la ciudad grande más segura del país. With that, let's turn to our colleagues in the media, and please let me know the name and outlet of each journalist.
Good morning. We will now begin our Q&A. As a reminder, we are joined by Chief of Department Rodney Harrison, Dr. Mitch Katz, Dr. Dave Choksey, Chief Democracy Officer Laura Wood, NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea, DSNY Commissioner Ed Grayson, and FDNY Commissioner Dan Nigro. Our first question today goes to James Ford from Pix 11.
And good morning, Mr. Mayor, and everyone on the call.
Good morning, James. It's a beautiful day in New York City. How you feeling?
I do enjoy when you say that and when I say that, and it is true, and I feel great. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling good. It's the power of positive thinking, my friend.
All right, I like that. We'll dive in. Regarding vaccinations for children 5 to 11, when you talk about city vaccination centers being available for the vaccinations, are we talking about Health and Hospital and Gotham Health locations? And the city, by having city locations be available, what does it say about pediatricians' offices' ability to administer vaccines?
Yeah, these are great questions. These are questions on the mind of every parent. I really appreciate them, James. Let me turn to two very, very happy people right now because they've been waiting for this moment. First, Dr. Mitch Katz is going to tell you about what's going to happen at our health and hospitals facilities. Then Dr. Dave Choksi will tell you about health department centers and also what's going to be going on with the pediatricians writ large. Dr. Katz.
Yes, you're right, sir. We're very excited at the idea that we're going to be able to vaccinate our youngest New Yorkers. All of the health and hospital facilities starting tomorrow will be doing vaccination for this group. We're busy training today and preparing all our materials and centers so that children starting tomorrow can get vaccinated. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Dr. Choksi.
Thank you, sir, and I agree. Today is a really happy day for so many of us who have been caring deeply about extending the benefit of vaccination to some of our youngest New Yorkers. I know there are a number of parents and pediatricians who are breathing a huge sigh of relief. And so with respect to the rollout, as has been described, we'll be working across city sites, so that includes health and hospital sites, as Dr. Katz mentioned, health department sites, and some of our other vaccination clinics. Those will all be ready to vaccinate starting tomorrow. But James, your question is a good one, because we know that many parents will want to go to their pediatrician's office to actually get their child vaccinated. And that's why we've been working with almost 1,500 providers across the city, both pediatricians and family doctors, to get them ready to vaccinate safely, to have these conversations with parents. And we expect that those will start coming online through the end of this week and really ramp up over the next few days. So that's all terrific news. And the final piece, as the mayor mentioned, is that we have our school vaccination sites, and those will be ready to go next week. So there's no wrong door here. We just want to get as many kids vaccinated as quickly as we can.
Amen. Go ahead, James.
Appreciate it. And on behalf of my colleague, Nicole Johnson, Mayor-elect Adams has proposed ramping up plainclothes units, for example, for the anti-crime unit. Do you, and I welcome hearing from Chief Harrison as well, believe that the plan will work to drive crime down? Would the anti-crime unit plan change the community police relationship?
Look, I want to say this. First of all, this is why we have elections. The mayor-elect made clear his view. People voted for him. He's going to do what he thinks is right. And I respect that entirely. He is someone who spent his life in public safety and his life as a police reformer, too. So I really trust his instincts and his knowledge. I believe that what we did in the last year was the right thing to do. I commend Commissioner Shea. I think it was the right decision for many reasons. It was the right decision in terms of how to better utilize the talents of our officers to get those gun arrests and to get the prosecutions and make them stick. Commissioner Shea has spoken about this. I want to emphasize a lot of what was in that thought process there was it's one thing to go and make an arrest. It's a very different thing to have a successful prosecution. And we needed a different approach. We need an approach that also helped to improve the connection between police and community while still getting guns off the street. I think the decision the commissioner made was the right one, and I think you see it in the huge increase in gun arrests and more gang takedowns and successful prosecutions. So I think it was good policy. But I also respect that the mayor-elect has a vision, and I think it's a well-informed vision, and I'm sure he will do it in a way that he believes in, and he said he wants to make sure whatever he does is respectful of communities, and I obviously take him at his word on that. Chief, you want to add?
No, just, James, just real quickly, we're up 13% in gun arrests compared to last year. The men and women in the NYPD work very hard to protect the city. If the new mayor chooses to go a different direction, we'll support him and go forward with whatever he needs for us to do. But right now, we're still getting the job of getting a lot of guns off the street, a lot of legal guns off the street.
Thank you.
Our next question goes to Juliet from 1010 Wins.
Yes, hi, good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everybody. Just continuing with crime criminal justice. Mr. Mayor, why aren't you speaking out more about bail reform? A lot of these crimes, people, even with the lack of court cases, a lot of these are misdemeanor assaults, quality of life crimes. People are attacking people or robbing Dwayne Reeds, and they're coming back out and doing it again. Why aren't you talking more about that or advocating Albany about that?
Juliet, let me put this in perspective. I appreciate the question. First of all, I will speak about that, but I want it not to be that folks are focused on bail reform only and not acting on the fact that our court system is not functioning. I find this a little strange, honestly, Juliet. There's endless discussion of bail reform, and it's an important topic. There's very little discussion about the lack of a functioning court system. Something's wrong with that picture. So I would just ask people, please look at this issue, why our courts are not functioning. Please put pressure on the court system to serve all of us and help make our city safer. It's incredibly frustrating for everyone in the criminal justice system if one piece of it's not functioning and things can't happen and there's no accountability, there's no consequences. So I don't think it's neither or. I think we got to deal with both. As to bail reform, I said from the very beginning that the intention of the law was very good and there were some very good elements to the law. But there are also some things I think need to be changed. Some changes were achieved in April 2020, and that was good. But more changes are needed. That bill needs to be fixed still. That law needs to be fixed. And I've been clear from the beginning, and I will advocate for those changes because we need them. But we've got to do that, and I also, honestly, Juliet, was quite clear that was not happening in the year 2021 in Albany, but I'm hoping it will happen in the year 2022 in Albany. But right now, in the year 2021, the thing we need is for this court system to wake up and serve the people of this city. Go ahead, Juliet.
Okay, thank you. On another topic, the vaccinations for the 5 to 11-year-olds at school. Will this take place during school hours? And does the parent have to be with them at school at that time? And also, for your health experts there, what are the effects on vaccinations on children? You know, we know some adults have flu-like symptoms, or they're very tired or have headaches. So what do we know about that?
Well, two very different questions, and I'll tell you tomorrow, Juliet, we're going to go into detail on the school's plan, which will start on Monday, the 8th. Yes, during school hours. As I said earlier, you got to have either the parent or guardian present, or we need written or phone confirmation of their consent. But we'll go over all those details tomorrow. It won't start until Monday, the 8th. In terms of impact on kids and how to think about vaccination, and obviously how to think about the safety it provides kids, first and foremost, Dr. Shoxi, followed by Dr. Katz.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And you put it in the right context for the question. I'll start with the bottom line. COVID-19 vaccination for 5 to 11-year-olds was strongly recommended by our nation's leading scientists. And this was based on data showing that the Pfizer vaccine is both safe and effective. And that's why beyond the data, we should all listen to whom we consider the foremost experts on this topic, pediatricians who are parents themselves, who are overwhelmingly urging vaccination. So the most important effects to focus on are the fact that this brings very significant benefits to our children. If we were to vaccinate every New Yorker aged 5 to 11, it's estimated that we would prevent over 38,000 cases of COVID-19 just in New York City. And remember that some of these infections also result in hospitalizations, ICU admissions, and long-term effects from COVID-19. So those are the effects that are most important for us to consider. But with respect to the side effects, of course, I know that this is a concern for parents as well. The most common side effects that were seen in the studies done among children were mild. So the vaccines were quite well tolerated. Arm pain, some fatigue, some headaches, some body aches, very similar to what we have seen with vaccination in adults, although the side effects appear to be more mild in children compared to in older age groups. So those are the things that are most important. But again, the bottom line is for us to focus on the fact that the benefits of vaccination are so strong and significantly outweigh any small risks or side effects.
Thank you. Dr. Katz, you want to add?
I fully agree with Dr. Chowsky. In general, children bounce back much faster than adults do from vaccination. And I think the side effects that we will see will be very minimal and probably for most kids just be a little bit of pain in the arm and a few tears during the time of getting the shot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Our next question goes to Andrew Siff from WNBC.
Mayor, can you and your health team clarify what it is that you're waiting for from the CDC? Our best understanding is that once Rochelle Walensky last night signed off on the vaccine and the state's COVID task force met last night and approved it, it is now legal today for providers in New York City and New York State to administer the vaccine right now, as long as they have it. And it's also our understanding that because Dr. Chokshi ordered so much of it in advance, there are providers who have it right now. So can you explain what it is you're still waiting for?
Go ahead, Dr. Chokshi. You have the latest information.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thanks, Andrew. So yes, when Dr. Walensky signed off on the CDC authorization, that does mean that that providers are able to vaccinate. But remember that we have a range of providers, some of whom are more or less familiar with vaccination, particularly in the pediatric context. And that's where the final piece that the mayor mentioned, which is the CDC's clinical guidance, it's called their clinical considerations, is very important because that includes a number of the safety checklists and detailed considerations that many providers will be looking for to make sure that they take every single step that's necessary to ensure safe vaccination of children. We do expect that the CDC will release that expeditiously. We're expecting that sometime today. And once that final piece is released, then we'll have all of the information that we need for the full range of providers to get started vaccinating. We've been, of course, working to prepare providers for weeks now. So these are just the final steps in the interest of making this as safe a process as possible. And as you mentioned, we do have a supply of vaccine. Some of it has already arrived in New York City, and we expect more of it to arrive in the next day or two, which will be sufficient to get us through the initial couple of weeks of the vaccination campaign.
Thank you. Go ahead, Andrew.
For municipal workers, what is the status of the 12,000 who have applied for accommodations? Has that list number been changed? And have you seen any ongoing impact to city services with those placed on unpaid leave combined with the other list who are seeking accommodations?
Very important question. Thank you. No, we're not seeing any noticeable impact. Response times for first responders continue to be strong and where we need them to be. We're seeing no disruption of service. Firehouse is open. Everything's moving forward. Sanitation's caught up a lot on what they needed to do. Right now, importantly, Andrew, we've gotten now over 25,000 city workers have gotten vaccinated since the October 20 announcement. So that's well over half of the folks that we needed to reach. We originally said it was about 45,000 were vaccinated. Now 25,000 of them done. We've gotten, of that group of people who have asked for accommodations, they're continuing to work while that process goes forward. But as I've said, that's a multi-stage process. They have an initial application, it's screened, there's an opportunity for people to provide more information, there's an appeals process. That will play out over a number of days. But those folks keep working in the meantime. But what we do know is there's continuing to be people who come forward to get vaccinated. So since the beginning of the workday on Monday, when everything was in effect, 2,600 city employees have come forward to get vaccinated. So they're obviously coming out of that group that would have been on leave without pay, maybe even some of them coming out of folks who asked for accommodation. We'll get those facts as we go along. Clearly, there's consistent movement towards more and more vaccinations. Whole city workforce, again, at 92%. That's going to go up.
Our next question goes to Courtney from New York One.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Good, Courtney. How you been?
I'm good, thank you. So sticking on the vaccine issue, do kids starting tomorrow, will they need an appointment or can they just walk right in? And I know you've spoken about this probably last month when you were asked about whether or not you think there should be some sort of mandate for children to attend school. Now that there's the approval for 5 to 11-year-olds, do you want to reconsider that? Do you think that's something you would do before you leave office?
No, I have no plans. I've talked to the chancellor. I've talked to our healthcare team. We have no plans to change our approach. We've got to respect the fact that our kids need to be in school, and the school environment's incredibly safe. Look, I'm very, very proud, and everyone out there who's been a part of this should be proud. We're over 78% vaccination level for our 12 to 17-year-olds. But for the kids who are not vaccinated, we know in many, many cases that's their parent deciding not to give them consent to be vaccinated. I don't want that child penalized. I want that child to have an opportunity to get an education in person and all the other support in the school community. Same with the 5 to 11-year-olds. I don't see anything changing that. Obviously, the new administration will take that up and decide where they want to go, but I don't see anything changing it over the next 2 months. To your question about walk-ins, Dr. Choksi, you want to speak to that, and Dr. Katz?
Certainly, sir. I'm happy to start. And the brief answer is that, as with our other vaccinations, both appointments and walk-ins will be honored. I do strongly recommend, particularly in the initial days, that parents book an appointment, because we do expect that some sites will be particularly busy as people come in to get their child vaccinated in the early days, and we want to make that as smooth a process as possible.
Dr. Katz?
Same for health and hospitals. We'll honor walk-ins, but because walk-ins can be an unpredictable volume without appointments, people might get stuck waiting, and having a small child with you while you're waiting is not a fun thing. So better to go with an appointment, but we will not turn people away.
Dr. Katz, as always, your wisdom is abundant. That is not a fun thing. I've been there. Courtney, go ahead.
And then a political question for you, Mr. Mayor, now that the mayor's race is officially over. Just wanted to touch base with you on your plans, when you plan to leave for Puerto Rico, what you plan to accomplish there, and whether or not you'll make a decision if you're going to run for governor there.
That's a lot of stuff. I've said very clearly I want to continue in public service. There'll be plenty of time to talk about that and what form it'll take and when. That's something we'll talk about going ahead. I do look forward, as I have every year, to participating in the Somos Conference. It's a really important event each year. It's actually where most of the leadership of this state get together, and a lot of important work is done there that actually doesn't happen anyplace else. So I'm looking forward to that. Details in terms of schedule pending. But do look forward to spending time with other colleagues and continuing the work we're doing.
Our next question goes to Aaron from Politico.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask you about some of the comments Eric Adams made last night and also this morning in some of his television appearances. He's been talking about the dysfunctionality of the city, saying people have been abandoned by the city, and that the city has failed to live up to its covenants, to provide goods and services. I'm just wondering, I know you've said in the past that, candidates say things when they're trying to win an election. He's not trying to win an election anymore. He already won. And he's kind of leveling these serious criticisms of the state of the city under your leadership. So I'm just wondering how you react to that.
Aaron, first of all, I'm very, very excited about Eric Adams becoming our mayor. Obviously, people know that I have a close relationship with him. I was very happy to see him become our nominee. I've tried to help him in any way I can. I hear his critique differently. I hear it very much as similar to what I said in 2013 about the Tale of Two Cities. I think he's talking about not just recent years, I think he's talking about decades, even generations of inequality. And the way that government often didn't see the people it was representing or supposed to represent, and didn't distribute resources equally. That's what he's put his whole life into fighting against, those kinds of inequalities. It's what I've put my life into fighting against. So I think it was a statement of his desire to keep working for fundamental change, and I respect that a lot. Go ahead, Aaron.
Right, right. Okay. I mean, just to follow up on that, you know, if he's still talking about these same themes that you were talking about back in 2013, does that mean we haven't solved the tale of two cities during your administration?
Aaron, I don't think anybody, literally, I don't know a single person who thought we were going to solve all the inequalities of society in 4 years or 8 years. Our job was to fundamentally attack them and make a difference. I know for the hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers who have gotten affordable housing, their lives are different. I know the folks who experienced a rent freeze when they needed it, their life was different. For every family that got pre-K or 3K for free, their lives were different and better. All these actions fought inequality. Paid sick leave fought inequality. Keeping health and hospitals alive so that people could get quality health care. Creating a guaranteed health care structure with NYC Care. All of this create a huge redistribution of wealth to people who needed it, to working people, to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. That's how you fight inequality. But does that end inequality? No. Inequality is a profound problem that needs tremendous work, not just locally, but at the state level and the national level. And that work continues. And I have great faith that Eric Adams is going to keep making progress.
Our next question goes to Chris from the New York Daily News.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. How are you doing today?
Good, Chris. How you been?
I'm good. I wanted to follow up on something Aaron was just talking about and remarks that Eric Adams made at an after party yesterday. While I understand you're saying you interpret his critique as more of a sweeping commentary on failures by the city over the decades, when he was speaking at Zero Bond last night, a nightclub in Manhattan, he was specifically commenting about the current city budget and how New Yorkers have gotten used to being delivered an inferior product, and that even though there's a $98.7 billion budget, this continues to occur. And he compared it to, quote, wasting tax dollars. So I'm just wondering, do you agree with that characterization of your administration's usage of tax dollars? And if not, can you explain why?
Chris, I haven't seen his comments. I'm not going to speak to comments I haven't seen that are just broadly interpreted. Look, his job is to take us to the next level, and I respect that. I think the city government has, and really credit to our city workers and credit to all the leaders here in City Hall and in our agencies. This city government saw this city through the greatest crisis in its history during this pandemic. If you look at what Department of Health and Hospitals did to save lives and help this city back, I think anyone would feel tremendous respect for what the city has achieved. If you look at the jobs coming back, if you look at the life of the city coming back, outdoor dining and so many other things that have given people hope, the city government did that. There's so much to appreciate in what we just talked about here, even in the midst of the toughest crisis in our history, the NYPD recording record levels of gun arrests. There's a lot to respect and appreciate about our city government. There's also a lot that we have to continue to work on and always try and do better. And I really believe the mayor-elect will have some powerful new ways of moving us forward. And I respect that and I appreciate it. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. And just wanted to clarify before I get to my next question. I'm not interpreting Mayor-elect Adams' comments. I'm reading verbatim from what he said, but I'll move on. In terms of your future plan and potential run for governor, you still owe the city $320,000 for usage of an NYPD security detail during your presidential campaign. And I'm wondering, if you run for governor, will you commit to not using donations to that campaign to cover any debt that you owe for the presidential campaign?
They're totally different concepts, Chris, and more importantly, the entire concept of Whether money is owed is under appeal right now with the Conflict Interest Board, and they will make a determination. So I don't think we can say anything until we see what they ultimately decide.
We have time for 2 more questions today. Our next question goes to Paul from the Staten Island Advance.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Mayor. How you doing?
Good, Paul. How you been?
I'm well, sir. Thank you. Regarding the city worker vaccination numbers, you've been saying about 92% of workers are vaccinated, but 6% are unvaccinated. I'm trying to get a sense of how those numbers square.
So 92% are vaccinated, and then we have a group of people that, and it's about, let me get the exact number in front of me. I think it is 9,000. Yes, 9,000 are on leave without pay. Remember, the total workforce is about 380,000. So 9,000 right now on leave without pay. Those folks always have the opportunity to correct. They always have the opportunity to say, you know what, on second thought, I'd rather get vaccinated and come back to work. We saw a lot of that, obviously, at the Department of Education, for example. We saw, as I mentioned, just since Monday morning, it's Wednesday morning now, since Monday morning, 2,600 more vaccinations from that group that was supposed to go into leave without pay. So it continues to evolve, but obviously, overwhelmingly, our city workforce has made the decision better to get vaccinated, and so we're moving forward. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you for that, sir. And for you and Commissioner Nigro, we're hoping to get a better sense of how the shifting staffing needs are going on at FD, and how they compare to normal service in more common times.
Yeah, I'll start and turn to Commissioner. I want to give Commissioner Nigro and his whole team a lot of credit, and there's a reason I chose a guy who has been a lifelong member of the fire department, because he really understands the way to make things work. Even with this challenge, firehouses open, response times, as I said, response times good. And I want to thank all the men and women of the fire department who have shown up, who have done the work. It's a challenging dynamic, but they've done it well, and we're going to keep moving forward. Commissioner Nigro?
Sure. I'll start. The fire department, of course, has EMS and fire. So starting with EMS, they're doing an unbelievable job. They're almost 90% vaccinated. I think today's morning report I saw, we actually had a few more ambulances out than we might have normally had out. Our response times are equal to any other time of the year, and we're providing the service that people expect. Our fire officers have over an 85% vaccination rate. They're not participating in any sick out that's actually going on with the firefighters, and we're having no trouble staffing our units with fire officers. Currently, as we speak now, we have 12 units out of service. Now, there are 2/3 alarms in Brooklyn this morning and a 5th alarm in Manhattan. This would not be unusual on any other day in any other year. We have some units understaffed, and I would say the combination of the number of people on leave without pay who have decided to not comply with the vaccine mandate, and an excessive sick leave rate amongst firefighters has forced us to have some understaffed units day in and day out. That being said, the members that are working, those members that have staffed our fire units are doing a tremendous job. Our response times are fine. And that 5th alarm was put out expeditiously, as was the first 3rd alarm, and members are working hard on the 3rd alarm right now.
Yeah, and Paul, remember, we have an unusually large fire department. There's a lot of redundancy. We have standards that provide a lot more manpower per each situation than is true in much of the country. We have great leadership, making sure that the resources are where they need to be. So, Commissioner mentioned, I think it was 17 units out of 350. As he said, that's actually fewer units out typically than what we saw even before the pandemic, where on a given day you would have units in training or getting maintenance or one thing or another. The commissioner's team have managed this really well, and people are being served and people are being protected in this city.
Our last question for today goes to Yehudit from Borough Park 24 News.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing today, Yehudit?
I'm great. I was wondering if Commissioner Nigro can please explain to us why the Uniform Firefighters Association is denying that there's a sick out and that they're calling in sick, and how many have called in sick yesterday and today?
A very important question, Yehudit, and I'll start only by saying, you can see some things before your very eyes. The commissioner obviously knows what typical days look like in terms of sick leave, and suddenly we see this increase at the exact moment when the mandate takes effect. It's not mysterious to me, obviously, but Commissioner, give the facts that will help all New Yorkers understand why it's a very unfair situation that people are staying out sick when they're not really sick, and really being unfair to their fellow firefighters and to all New Yorkers.
Sure. The union keeps saying there's no sick out, but I do like math. I always like math because 2 and 2 always equals 4, and that's the way things are. So if on any given day the fire department has 1,000 people out sick, lo and behold, today there are 2,200 people out sick. There's no listeria outbreak. There's no outbreak of some mysterious disease, and the numbers started going up 9 days ago when the mandate was announced. So we had 2 days ago 900 people visit the medical office when an average day is 200. If that's not a sick out, tell me what it is. Of course, the numbers went down a little yesterday. They went down further today. So we're hoping that members are doing what I said, and that is serving the public and serving their fellow firefighters that are coming to work and stopping this.
Commissioner Nigro, your statement is eloquent in its clarity. I thank you. And we like math around here. I agree with you. Go ahead, Yehuda.
Okay, then also, Mayor de Blasio, you said that New Yorkers should go to neighborhood meetings to be more involved with policing. And of course, ideally, everybody would be involved with policing, but just realistically, people who work, have large families, probably have the attitude.
And they do think, hey, I want as much as possible taken care of for me. And that's fair and that's understandable, except when it comes to policing, to be fair, the more people get involved, the better off we are. It doesn't mean everyone can do it, Yehudit. I appreciate that. And I want to hear Chief Harrison's perspective on this as well. But I'll tell you, it's not saying, oh, you have to, because we know most people are going to be otherwise engaged. It's saying for those who can, who have the time and energy, and that's a lot of New Yorkers who have come forward to get involved in working with their local precincts, it really helps. The police need to understand what's being felt at the community level. They need information to do their jobs. That community involvement makes a difference. Yehuda, it's important to understand, the notion that you could just hire police, send them in, everything's taken care of, that was debunked literally decades ago. And so many good people in American policing understand the true path to safety comes with a connection between the people being served and their guardians. It's not either or. There has to be that connection. So for those who do have the time and energy, we need them to be involved. We really do. It has made a world of difference through neighborhood policing. That's a layman's view. Now let's turn to an expert. Chief.
Yeah, Judith, I apologize. I didn't make it seem like you had to go to the meetings, but I do believe there should be a connection. And in order for us to continue to protect the city, having that relationship with your localized police officers. Remember this, our neighborhood coordination officers have cell phones, they have email addresses, and working together with the community that they're assigned to protect, honestly, it's only going to cause success. So, the most important thing that I want to share with you is neighborhood policing is working, is back up and running, and our connections with the community is only going to make this a great city.
Amen. And every time a community resident tells a police officer, hey, I think something unusual is happening there. Hey, I think someone may have a weapon, or there may be a problem brewing that needs to be stopped. I've heard these stories over recent months from the chief. A lot of crime has been stopped, a lot of violence has been stopped because of those tips from neighborhood residents. That communication allows our officers to do the very best job they can, so it really matters. Hey, as we conclude today, everyone, big day today, but really historic day tomorrow as we get ready to vaccinate our 5 to 11-year-olds. We're really excited about this. Please, everyone, all the parents out there, all the family members, there's going to be a lot of people ready, willing, and able to safely and carefully vaccinate your child. Make sure they're safe. Make sure your whole family's safe. I want to just commend everyone, our healthcare heroes, our vaccinators, everyone who has done an amazing job keeping the city safe. Parents, they've earned your trust by the way they've turned this whole COVID crisis around in the city and made us all safer. Our children are precious to us. Let's get them vaccinated. Let's keep everyone safe. Let's move out of the COVID era once and for all. Thank you, everyone.